What is going on, guys, gals, and everything in between? You are on the sidelines with the sideline guys. I'm Chris.
And I'm Derrick.
Man, it's only right. We got to start out by saying happy Pride Month to all of those who are celebrating. It's a beautiful
Yes.
June. It's a beautiful
Yes.
June.
Yes.
I love
Oh,
to
it
see
is
all
June.
the, yeah, man, June 1st.
Oh,
Life
Jesus.
comes at you fast, bro.
I thought this was still May. Because I saw that earlier today. I was like, why are y'all saying that at the end of the month? Like,
Yeah, it's not often that you get a new month on a Wednesday.
yeah. So, okay. Yeah. Happy celebration to everyone.
Hey, look, it's just beautiful to see when I go downtown. There's more pride flags on
Yeah.
my streets
Yeah.
than there is anywhere I've seen. So
Yeah.
shout out to downtown representing the right way,
Most
and
definitely.
yeah, so good to be here once again,
Yes, sir.
discussing the damn sport we love. But I just got to start out
Yes,
by
sir.
saying, and I know because you're not gonna do it. You're not this kind of guy, you know. Way back when,
Yeah.
I think it was about 7 or 8 months ago now, right?
Yeah.
It's kind
Yeah.
of crazy that we think it goes back that far.
It's probably longer than that. It's probably closer to 10 because
Wow.
it's June.
Bro, we've been doing this for a while, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. We've been doing it for a minute, man. I mean,
It's over a year now, right?
no, no, because I think I gotta check the archives. I don't know.
That's a good question.
It's
That's a good question.
possible. It's
Shit,
possible. We just
if
do
you
what we
miss my
do.
anniversary, bro, I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that. Like you know, like your shorties get mad. I'm gonna get mad too. Like I think it's been a happy marriage. You know what I'm
It's
saying?
been it's
Like,
been a great marriage.
but I say all this to say, respect. There's no, I laughed at you. I talk
Yeah.
shit as soon as you said it. And your finals prediction has came true. The Celtics against the Warriors. I just want to get your thoughts off the top because the fact that you nailed the thing on the damn head so long ago is super impressive. And the fact that you stuck with it after the first couple months of the season, just kudos to you.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. I mean, this is honestly the matchup that basketball fans deserve. This is honestly whether you like the teams or not. If you are a fan of basketball, these are two titans right here. This is literally offense versus defense. You know what I'm saying? So it's like one of those heavyweight matches, man. It's gonna be a slugfest. I think it's gonna be a nice series. So, oh, and by the way, I got some new a new addition to the backdrop. If you look above my screen right there,
Mm-hmm.
you will see what I got last week. Um, if for anyone that's not able to, that's not listening, watching on YouTube right now, it is a painting of
That's a
Jaylen
painting.
Brown and Jason Tatum. Yes,
That's dope.
yes,
That looks like a
yes,
freaking photo. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Hey,
So
you got to
it's a
give me the close
celebration,
up. You
man.
got to give me the
Oh, I
close up
will, I
later.
will, I
I'm
will,
just
I
saying.
will. I will. It's amazing. So I just want to celebrate my guys. That's all. I just want to celebrate my guys. I think this has been it's been a long journey, honestly. Everybody, and there's been a lot of people that have retracted or tried to retract their statements from prior, even just this year alone. I've been hearing for the last 2-3 years that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum cannot coexist together. And I've heard that argument leading up into the second round of these playoffs. um, I find it very interesting that people say that. And there they are, right there in the finals. I'm looking forward to it. Tonight is going to be a great matchup. It's going to be amazing to see. I think again, anyone that is a basketball fan, this is the matchup that they deserve. Truth be
Mhm.
told, that we have not had something like this in a long time, where you're literally sitting there, you can make a case for both teams to where they can win. You know
For
what I'm
sure.
saying? So I'm happy. I'm happy, but I'd be happy with that ring, man. Give me that 18th.
Yes, sir. Dude, I can't believe we're here, to be honest. And
Yeah.
I feel like on this show specifically, I've sort of fought against this moment. And it's not, and it wasn't like a conscious choice. It wasn't like I'm
No.
trying to troll Derrick. It was honestly how I felt in the moment. So given that we're here now, obviously, I'm gonna have some more hot takes for you today about how I think this series is gonna go.
Yeah, man.
But it's, dude, like you said, I think it's about time we got some fucking back and forth games. It's
Yeah.
about time we got defense on both sides of the ball. No question about it. I mean,
Yeah.
this series is going to be awesome. And what I'm most looking forward to is just, first of all, I already gave your flowers on this, but I just got to bring this back because I'm looking through this list. Nobody, me, you, or Logic, got anything right except for you. You were the only one who got. Obviously, you got the finals prediction all set up. No, I lied entirely. So you got your 1W, and then Logic got his 1W. He predicted that Joel Embiid would be the points leader of this
Yes.
season. So,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
so cool to give the flowers on that. But turning the
Yeah.
page now that
Yes,
we're
sir.
where we are,
Yes.
I don't know this, so I need to ask. Game one, where are we?
Where we're playing?
Uh-huh.
San Francisco.
Yeah, okay.
First two in San Francisco. Which I find very interesting. I because it didn't really even dawn on me that that's how it goes in the finals. That the it's not based on seeding. I think it's based on record as to who gets home court advantage in the series.
Hmm.
I did not. I didn't. I don't think I even really knew that, to be completely honest.
I didn't know that
Um,
either. Yeah.
yeah. So I thought it was based on seeding, but hey, we'll play wherever, man. We've won there before.
And one big too. So that
Yeah.
it makes it even more exciting now. I
Yeah.
just want to, obviously we got to leave the floor to the goddamn super fan here. I wish, I just got to say, composition wise, I wish that there was a way we could flip that painting, get it on the right side, and we got the 007 going on. I feel like that would be so much more fun. But hey,
Oh
hey, I
man.
like it.
Okay.
I like it.
Yeah. I like that. I like that. I wish. Hey, I wish. I wish. Yeah, that would have been nice. I would
It's
have
too
put.
late. It's too
Yeah.
late. Hey, we
I
got
can't.
700. It means
Yeah.
something. We'll make it mean something on the show.
Hey
Goddamn it.
man. Yeah. We will. We will.
So please, I just want to hear your thoughts, your breakdown. Obviously, you're a huge Celtics fan, so I just want to get that out the way. I think it's
Yeah.
important to get that out the way, but I know that you're not a biased person beyond certain foul calls. But I'll let you rock here. I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this series, man.
Man. You know what? I've been so anxious for this to start. I really don't know how game one is going to play out. I think it's going to be interesting because Golden State has had a little more rest. Um, Boston, is coming off that 7-game series against the Heat, which I wish I didn't have time to do it. I wanted to put my sign up, but I just wanted to say the Heat has actually, the flame has been extinguished. Um, a lot of people came at me, so I would like to say to those Miami Heat fans that are probably watching that were trolling me, I do want to say we got the last laugh. Thank you guys very much. Have a good off season.
And I want to add, y'all still exist. I thought that only happened in that brief 2014 window. The fact that y'all still exist is crazy. I just gotta say.
Yeah. It's interesting, man. I mean, but Miami is a great team. I do I like them. I don't like certain things like Kyle Lowry and what he does with the flopping, or Bam not getting called for his moving screens pretty much every possession. But
I thought you was talking about the cheeks.
Oh, I'm not talking. I don't know.
It's only right. It's only right. I gotta bring it up.
I saw a lot this week, man.
Too much.
Yeah, this one woman said she wishes that she had Kyle Lowry's ass.
God damn.
I was like, dog, man. Like,
that's not some shit you let out there. You know what I'm saying? That's not something you let go into the universe. God damn.
Oh, God.
But I just want to say real quick, the future is bright in Miami, like you were saying.
It is.
But my main thing is, I think you need to walk back a little bit of the things you said about Jimmy Butler last week. Because even though he lost, that generally he's not of that top 15, top 10 ilk.
No, I think he's
a playoff performer.
I think he's top 15 or top 20. I just don't think he's top 10.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah. So no, I think he's within that 11 to 20 range, wherever you want to put him in there. To me, I have him closer to like maybe 12, between the 12 and 14, maybe 12 and 15. I have him somewhere in that range. I don't know yet. I got to do a list. But I have him right there.
Tune into the next show.
Yeah, we could do the list. We could do the list next week. We can. But that's where I would put him. But much respect to him. But onward to the finals. I think this it's going to be very interesting because Boston is taller, more athletic. Uh, um, Golden State, they're crazy with the shooting. It's going to be very interesting. I don't know what the lineup is going to be because I don't know if Robert Williams is playing in game one. I think what they might do is just rest him because I don't think he's I think he needs 1 game off. I think he needs 1 game off. So it'll likely just be Grant with Al the 4 and 5, which is perfectly fine
Mhm.
because we might not even need Robert in the series, but you do want him.
It adds
So
another level for
yeah,
sure.
so if you have him, if he's there, which he's there, he traveled with the team. So my assumption is that they will sit him game one just to rest the knee a little more. 'Cause that time that we would have had if we had beaten them game six. Um, give him that time and then let him prepare for game two. Um, but I think this is gonna be very interesting because when you have that small ball lineup out there, um, for Boston against Golden State, that's gonna be very interesting. I don't think we really got a chance to see because we saw the matchup in March, I think. Uh March or April when you remember when Steph Curry got hurt
Mhm.
again Marcus Smart diving on the floor for the
I
ball.
remember that game
It's
very vividly, actually.
it's a basketball play. If anyone that wants to argue against it, that was a basketball move.
I was on your side with that one, so I won't
Yeah,
beat a dead horse.
yeah. It's unfortunate, but he did get hurt. But we saw in that game, like I think that's like the only preview you're gonna have because the first game this season they didn't. I don't think both teams were even healthy.
Exactly. Yep.
So it's and honestly, we didn't even that was before the trade deadline. So you didn't have a couple of pieces that were already in Boston. They're in Boston right now. Um, I think it's gonna be very interesting though. I think that that small ball lineup is gonna be great to see. Grant on uh Draymond Green. Um,
Spider-Man meme, right?
yeah, that's gonna be very interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I think we'll be able to see what we didn't see from Grant in the Miami series, in this series. You
Mhm.
remember how in against Milwaukee he was shooting like crazy in that Milwaukee series.
Yep.
I think is you're gonna
Expected.
get. I think you're gonna be able to get that back with this series because you have a lot more. You're playing a different team. Miami is just different defensively, and I think they irritated Grant a lot, which got him
I
in foul
agree.
trouble a lot. You
And
know,
I don't think they get enough credit for the things they do on that
yeah,
side of the ball. So,
yeah,
and don't get me wrong, that's not saying that Golden State is a bad defensive team. But I agree with what you're saying. It's a different matchups, different. It calls for different things, especially
yeah.
from the guy that's guarding him in that particular instance.
Right, right. And I think it's gonna be very interesting to see. Because I'm not sure if you saw um the promo clip for All Nat this week. Did you see that yet?
Yes, I did. I was about to talk about it, so I love that you brought that up.
Yeah. One of the matchups that she's looking at is the Andrew Wiggins Tatum matchup, and she believes that Wiggins is going to be able to.
Neutralize was the
I didn't
word.
want. Yeah, you neutralize. I'm. What do you think about that? Let me ask you that first, because I want to know what your thoughts are on
I'm so glad that you brought it up because I swear I was about to transition and like I wasn't gonna say it, but I was gonna say it. You know what I mean?
that.
Um, I think hands down that there's no way that's true. I think guys like that's like saying Marcus Smart is going to neutralize Steph. Like it's he's going to play great defense.
Yes.
He's going to make it hard on him. But there's you don't neutralize guys like that. Like
Yeah.
that's just not something you can do.
Mhm.
Um, can there be two standout games where mistakes are made, where turnovers are caused, things like that, that you could point to that matchup and say, hey, maybe what I said turned out to be true. I'm not doubting that. I think
Yeah.
there's going to be moments defensively, and that's a matchup to watch for. I think you could say the same exact thing about Marcus Smart and Steph. And obviously, I feel like matchup wise, when you look at each position, I think defensively the Celtics match up way better with the against the Warriors than the Warriors do against the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that has to do with the way the Celtics pieces are very interchangeable. I think
Mm-hmm.
obviously everyone on the Warriors, they're I don't want to say they're one dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone is diverse in their role and what's expected of them.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, you have an idea of what's going on there. Like I
Right,
feel
right,
like
right.
Boston does a much better job as far as making those sort of backdoor cuts, making those plays that are more so about getting into the paint and then kicking out than starting your offense out on the ranges. And obviously, there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with that approach either. I'm not saying
yeah.
there is. I'm just saying matchup wise, there's a little bit more to point to for the Celtics. But I agree, man. I think this series is really. I'm surprised that you downplayed it a little bit. I think this really hinges on Robert Williams and how much he's
Oh,
able to
for
play,
sure,
how
for
well
sure.
he's able to play, and that Grant Williams Draymond matchup, like you said, is very big
That's gonna be
because,
fun.
especially defensively, because
Mm-hmm.
who's going to get off of the other more and who's going to be in a position to do that.
Right.
I think both of those guys have proven that they can make those shots when they're open,
Mm-hmm.
but both teams are asking for a lot of those
Yeah,
guys, so
yeah, yeah.
it's really going to be about spacing the floor in that way, and I don't doubt that both teams are going to be able to do that, which is what makes this matchup hella exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But my take on that is there's no way you neutralize Tatum. There's going to be mistakes made because this is a high caliber game and everyone is going all out defensively. So that's
Mm-hmm.
to be expected. But I think we'll be able to say the same about multiple matchups in this series.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing about it is, I have nothing but respect for the Warriors. I think that their team, excuse me, is very, very intriguing, especially when you see that they have a couple of like rookies that are stepping up and doing a lot of things. Gary Payton is supposed to be playing sometime in the series. Excuse me, I don't know if he's gonna be ready for game one or not, but um, he's supposed to be coming back from that fractured elbow.
Mhm.
So, you have a lot of guys that are able to do different things that they have on that team. I think, let me put it like this. I do believe that Golden State's path to the finals this year was softer than Boston's. Okay. I they, they lost a couple of games, but they were, knew they were going to win a series, every series. That was one thing, matchup wise, they just seemed to be too much for their opponent, at the end of the day. Um, I think Boston went the harder route, and I think that this will actually serve them. It serves them well that they didn't duck uh, 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 Brooklyn or Milwaukee or whatever. Like they actually went at these teams and didn't didn't flinch, and I think that because of that, that will prepare them for this matchup against Golden State on this stage. We've seen them again. We saw them a couple months back. This matchup, and the game was amazing. But I think the one that the X factor to me is the depth that these teams have. Right? Who's going to actually be able to perform better, longer? To me,
Who's
that's
going to have real depth?
real
That's the
depth.
question. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And to me, I think that Boston has the edge, and that's not as a fan. I think they have the edge in that way. Um, I'm intrigued because of the fact that this is not the same Golden State that we've seen in the last couple of years that's made the finals, right? This is the same core with a revamped uh, 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 roster, and I think that is very interesting how they fit together. To me, both these teams actually kind of mirror each other in terms of being able to like be versatile, stuff like that. The only difference is that Boston has Rob Williams, and Golden State they have Wiseman, but Wiseman's not playing. So
Hey,
that's
20
the one
point
thing.
Looney. 20
Yeah.
point Looney.
Looney's not going to be able to match up with Williams.
For sure.
And to me, I don't even care. Robert doesn't even have to be 100%. I think as long as he's out there, he's a threat because of the fact that he has the size and he has the ability to just catch and like no the issue that he had with Miami is that he was slow because you're playing games every other day and they were playing these games that way for like a month, right? Going back to the Milwaukee series. So having some time off is going to serve him well.
And coming off of a major knee injury.
Coming off of
People are
a
acting like that
meniscus.
didn't happen. Like
I think we're what 2 months removed from that.
miraculous, Wolverine type shit. I want to
Two and
circle
a half
back a little
months.
bit because I got a lot to say. You
Yeah,
covered a
please,
lot, so I got a lot
please.
to say. Um, it's easy for me as the guy who picked the Mavs to say, hey, hold on. It wasn't as easy as it seemed.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. It definitely was an easier route. But you
Yes.
could then argue that the Celtics
Yes.
had a harder time. Obviously, you had two
Mm-hmm.
7-game series back to back,
Mm-hmm.
and coming into the finals off a 7-game series. Now, the narrative is going to be is the Celtics going to be tired? I'm not going to come here and say that they will be because the way that they play, I don't have any fears of them being tired because they've
Yeah.
shown that they're a grit and grind team. So I don't have
Yeah.
any issues with that. As far as Golden State being the fresher team, I think it's going to matter game one. Like I think it's almost a lock that the Warriors are probably going to win game one, and that
I
doesn't
don't.
put you in a good spot. Oh, really?
I don't. I'm still undecided on who I'm picking for game one, but
Okay.
I think the fact that they just came off of the series because they're you get that layoff type of I don't want to call it rust, but that you gotta get back into like play mode,
Mm-hmm.
and I think Boston's already in that. Not to say Golden State isn't, but
It's
they've
fair.
they've had what like I want to say close to like 11 days, maybe
Yep. And you
of
could argue that's more time to get in practice. You could argue all those things.
yeah.
Um,
So I
I
don't know.
personally, yeah, that's my take. I personally am saying, no matter what, I think Golden State's going to win Game One. And please
Mhm.
clip this when they don't. I love to be shamed. I'd love it. That's my idea of it. And the
Mhm.
only thing that does make me worried about it, because honestly, I came into this show expecting that I was going to pick the Celtics in this series. And the more we talk about it, the more I'm getting a little nervous. And it's not because I don't think this is a winnable matchup. I think both teams have a very equal shot in a way that
Mhm.
coming into a finals, it's hard to feel that way. Like
Yeah,
usually there's
yeah.
a clear sort of favorite. This feels like two juggernauts, two teams that were battle tested,
Mhm.
but in different ways. Like
Mhm.
obviously you said the Celtics went through the gauntlet. I feel like the Warriors went through the ringer as far as they had the early season woes that the Celtics had late in the season and then had to come
Mhm.
back from that.
Mhm.
So I think they're in an interesting spot as far as competition wise and bringing themselves into the series. What really I think is going to be the key factor here is obviously how game one goes. Historically, whoever wins game one is in a good spot to win the series. And I know that's
Mhm.
why you're probably not willing to say, hey,
Oh
it ain't
no.
that easy. This is why we play the games, baby, because
Yeah.
obviously shit happens.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, what makes me more concerned is obviously they have that home court advantage.
Mhm.
Against the Heat, it didn't turn out to matter. But I still think there's big keys to that as far as that being a factor and that being sort of something to consider in the series. But the more I think about this series, the more I'm expecting, honestly, even games that end up getting out of hand early. I feel like come fourth quarter, I don't think there's going to be many games that are 10-point plus wins. Like I think this is going to be a close series.
I'm expecting a close series. I'm expecting majority of the games to be single digit victories. I'm not expecting this to be. I don't even know if we're going to see north of 115 points scored. I think we're going to. I think to me, this almost feels old school, especially if the refs don't get in the way in this matchup. You know how like in the second round, it seemed like every matchup the refs were kind of just like biting their whistle. They weren't calling anything for the most part. They were actually allowing them to be physical. If they allow that to happen in this series, um, it's gonna be very interesting.
For sure.
This is gonna be very interesting. I think defensively is gonna be a great thing to watch. Um, but
Let me give you my in depth before you throw to this, and I'm gonna give you
yeah,
my real thoughts on this. What makes Boston so dangerous in this series is not even just having Robert Williams; it's having the freedom to play Robert Williams with Grant Williams. With
really with Horford.
that's what I was about to say. And with Al Horford, when you have
Yeah,
Al Horford playing the four in
yeah,
modern day NBA, that's a matchup that's hard to match with.
it
And
is.
obviously, Draymond is used to defending larger players,
Mm-hmm.
but that takes a toll,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're expected to be doing a lot of the playmaking duties on the other side of the ball as well.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's not his main responsibility, but still, that's something to consider. And the more he can get on the floor, the more it frees up that four spot. Like the five spot and the four spot is going to be what determines the winner of this series. And
Mm-hmm.
that makes you feel, hey, so then you should pick the Celtics, right? Because clearly they have the better situation in that front court. And I agree with that. I think what makes it so interesting is the fact that there's so many options for the Celtics defensively when it comes to the threats of Golden State. There's
Right.
there's options matchup wise. Like I won't even be surprised if we see stretches of Peyton Pritchard getting good minutes in this
Oh,
series
he's going to.
because yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because the ability to stay on either GP
Mm-hmm.
or Steph in certain scenarios if you have a manageable lead or a manageable deficit,
Mm-hmm.
and then B that offensive firepower that it adds.
Right.
So I'm a big fan of the sort of the nuance to this. I think there's going to be a lot of moments where we see someone step onto the bench and then we're like, hold on, and then you see someone on the other team jump right up too.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what's going to be make this series super exciting because, like I said, there's no way the Warriors can match what you guys can put out in that 4 and 5 slot.
Mm-hmm.
But the issue I have is, and I know you would disagree with this because there's pieces on offense, there's pieces on defense in that backcourt for the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's only so many options for the Celtics where they're going to be put in a position where at times they're going to be behind the curve on what is needed defensively. And now hear me out here.
Okay.
Steph is going to be doing Steph things. That is to be expected.
Yeah.
I think he's going to ball out this series, and I hope he does. I've never been a Steph hater. I don't get Steph haters. I really don't understand it. I think he's
Yeah.
definitely set himself apart in this league. But this really is dependent on what Klay Thompson shows up.
Yeah.
Because
Oh yeah. Yeah.
if 15-point Klay is the guy that we're getting, you're licking your chops because you're easily going to get that out of the 4 and 5 slot
Mm-hmm.
from the Celtics.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be easily matched.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the key thing here. And I know it sounds like I'm giving two different matchups here,
No.
but
No.
that shooting guard slot for the Warriors and the front court for the Celtics is what's going to set apart those wins. I can tell you right now, of the games that the Warriors are probably going to win, you're going to see more points out of those guys in the backcourt than you will see out of obviously front court guys in general. That's just how their team plays. So that may not be a crazy thing to say,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the fact that with the Celtics backcourt, there's going to be a lot of, hey, we need Smart out there as much as possible. And don't get me wrong, Smart is nowhere near the offensive liability he used to be.
At all.
But there's times where you still would rather a different kind of player at that position. And I know you understand that.
Which is
And you have
why.
that. And you have that. But my issue with it is matchup wise, and this is what I
Mhm.
meant earlier,
Mhm.
is there's going to be times where you need that facilitator. There's going to be times where you need sort of more of that offensive threat out of that position.
Mhm.
Now, here's where you're going to get it in the post.
Yeah.
Now the question is, how is the Warriors going to adapt to the post game, not just of those 5 and 4, but of the guards as well? Because that's big.
Mhm.
That
It
is
is.
big.
It is.
And that's the key matchup. And then B, if the Warriors are shooting out the gym, there's only so much you can do. And honestly,
Oh
I
yeah.
don't think we've seen them do that as much. I think that's the rep that they get.
Hmm.
But I feel like across that Mav series, they really did a good job at being a rebounding team
Hmm.
defensively, which has
Hmm.
been exciting to watch,
Hmm.
and B, making the right plays and getting into the paint.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm a fan. I just said a whole lot of shit, so I'm excited to hear your thoughts. But I really feel like 5-4 for the Celtics, and that shooting guard slot, whoever is in it, is going to be the most important portions for each team.
No, I agree with that. I think Derrick White is going to in those moments where you feel like you want more offense from that guard position, Derrick White's going to be inserted into the game. Yeah, that is a thing that I think that they have a very interesting element there because both Smart and White uh, can play offense, but they play elite defense as guards. Um, I to be completely honest, I think that's one of the. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing how White plays against Steph, um, because I think that's one thing that's not going to be discussed until we actually see it. I think people are going to be surprised as to how well he plays Steph. Um, Again, you're not going to be able to hold that guy down, right? That's impossible. Um, but if you can limit the majority of the scoring from to just being Steph and uh, maybe Poole, like if those are the guys that you have to you beat, I think you're in a better position for sure. Because if Clay is not, I don't think we're going to see Clay until next year, right? I don't think we're going to see that Clay until sometime next year. Um, but I do believe that he with these specific games or matchups, I should say, that he's had in the last 3 rounds, there's been 1 to 2 games per series where he just goes off, and it's like impossible to stop him. I think one of the biggest advantages for Golden State in that Mavs series is that their offense is only through one person. Like Dallas has they run their offense through Luka, and that's it.
Yep.
And I think that a lot of people started looking at that series and was like, okay, well, this is what's going to happen in the finals. And that's not going to happen.
No
You
way.
have multiple people that you run your offense through in Boston, uh, because Jason Tatum, he shoots, but he's a playmaker now, right? He's trying to average like 9-10 assists a game, and doing it. So between that and I think the way Brown plays, as long as Jalen doesn't cough up the ball a lot, I don't know what happened to his handle, but it seemed like this year it he started having more issues with. I do know he had an issue, a hamstring injury. I'm not he may have had a wrist injury. I'm not sure, but I do know he had the hamstring injury early in the year. But that's what I attributed to it before. But now I think it's still messing with him. But I don't want to attribute that in the playoffs to that being the reason why he can't handle the ball right properly.
Everyone's hurt at this point
Everyone's
to some
banged up.
extent. Yep.
Yeah, everyone's banged up. So I really don't look at injuries as much of an excuse right now. Like um because I think both teams, like you said, are banged up. But I think that when you have these type of players going against each other, you have two teams that want it, right? History's gonna be made either way.
Mhm.
This is a history making matchup, right? The Bulls and Warriors are matched up at 6 titles, right? And we haven't seen a dynasty akin to the Bulls until the Warriors came along, right? And right now, Boston is tied with the Lakers at 17. So there will be a tiebreaker in with whoever wins this series. But to me, I just think the series is probably going to go either 6 or 7. I can't see this being a short series.
I
Um,
agree.
I've seen a lot of people already say that they have Golden State in 5.
They smoking.
That's ridiculous. um, I think my assumption is everybody outside of Golden State fan base is looking at this as the Golden State Warriors of old, right? Like this is not that team. This is just not that
100%.
team. I mean,
And that's not a knock on them. They're
it's
a great
not.
team,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not that
It's
level.
not that. So I think we're gonna see a matchup where anything is possible.
I agree.
That's the quote Kevin Durant, I mean Kevin Garnett said when they won the championship, but that is applicable to this matchup, right? Anything is possible. I think we can see uh 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 pretty much anybody from Golden State go off. We can see anybody from Boston go off. I don't think that this is one of those matchups you look at and you say, "Oh yeah, uh uh, uh this is clearly going to be the winner." You know, I really don't know who I'm predicting for game one. I don't even know that I'm going to make a prediction. I'm rocking with my Celtics all day. Every time they get on the court, I expect them to win. But I don't know that they're going to win game one. I don't know. I don't know.
Yep.
I'm excited for this matchup because I think again this is one of those things that we have not been able to have in years in a final series. For the longest time, it's like you know already who's going to win the matchup, right? It, it, I like the intrigue and the mystery of this one. Um, I don't know. I don't know. I will. Let me ask you this though.
Before
Because
you ask me, I got one thing to say.
yeah,
I need to go on a rant about this because you mentioned it and it's important to me. And,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's not even you. It's not you, it's
yeah,
me. And I'm going to
yeah,
make that clear.
yeah.
I fucking hate when Celtics fans are like, we tied for 7. We got 16. We gonna have we gonna be the number one winningest team in the bro. How long have you been alive? Like
We
you
already
have
are.
not been long alive. All right, hey, listen,
We
listen.
already are.
All right, okay. How long have you been alive, right? It hasn't been long enough to appreciate that glory, right? So shout out to Bill Russell. He did his thing. Shout out to making this possible, right? This whole dream is possible because of Bill Russell, because of what he was able to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because the modern era just doesn't reflect that level of greatness. And this is I say this as a Yankees fan. So
Yeah,
everyone's always like, oh, even when the Yankees sucks, the first thing you saying is, oh, 27, though. I don't know, 27. And it feels good when I'm saying it. But all I gotta say
yeah.
is modern era, bro. Come on, bro. The
Let me.
Celtics aren't this great dynasty the way that
Okay.
it's made out to be. Just saying.
Let me address that because I think people forget that there is an actual process to winning, right? Like you remember that process that Philadelphia talked about that
Yep. That
they
ain't it.
abandoned. That's not the process you want. But they abandoned what they had going. I will say that they were on the road to being able to have be a champion, but they took a different path. So I don't know, what their issues are, but um, I think you can experience success in the process, right? I think when you look back, Boston has not up until 06, 07. That was like the last year that they were just like in turmoil since Larry Bird retired, basically, right? Like there was a lot of losing seasons. You know, which is weird because if Len Bias was alive, we wouldn't have experienced that, right? Like, um, we would already be at like 25 championships if that was the case. But uh I do believe that there's a process to that to getting to that championship. And I think the reason why you hear so much about the Celtics is because after that last time we were in the finals was for the 2010 finals, right? Against the Lakers. After that season, um you could see that the Celtics were starting to get old.
Sure.
Right? You could see it. Um and since then, I would say 2012, um, they haven't been the team that you're expecting to come out of the East, right?
Hmm.
But in that space, that time
There's been
from
greatness. It's not been like I've
2012,
been bumming it.
yeah, from like 2012 till what was that, 16, 17,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
Isaiah
17.
Thomas got there. Um, when he by the time Isaiah came back, he brought us back to prominence. That's why IT is held in such high regard because um he brought basketball back to Boston, right? That championship feeling back to Boston. Up until then, like there was no spark. There was nothing. There was nothing. Like we shipped off Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett to Brooklyn and punted
The
from
next
then
couple
on.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you started seeing little pieces getting added, right?
Did it
That's
the
when
right
we
way.
that's when you started adding when you got Marcus Smart. That's when you brought in Brad Stevens, right? And then you see, okay, now you got Isaiah Thomas. What are we doing? And then they started building. You had Jay Crowder and Avery Bradley, which right now those are not the names you're looking at like, oh my God. But back then they were balling, right? And then we made the I'm sorry, it wasn't 2007 when we got Isaiah Thomas. We got Isaiah in 15 or 16, I think, because in 17 is when we got Al Horford. So when you were able to get him, you paired him with Isaiah and Marcus Smart, and you could see what was starting to happen. That's when they got Jaylen Brown after that, and then what 2 years later, that's when you got no a year or two later is when you got Jason Tatum. So you could see the build up, right? There was expectations from the moment that they got Kyrie Irving, right? There was expectations from the outside, but from the inside, we were expecting a championship with Isaiah Thomas. So that's why there's been this talk of we're contending for the last maybe 8 years because you could see what was starting to formulate, right? You could see what was starting to come together. And this is the result of that. So while Boston may not be the team you're looking at, you say, "Oh, you guys only had one championship since the '80s," right? They've been successful. They've had what now four Eastern Conference finals in the last 6 years, I think, or five in the last 6 years, something like that. Um, with now getting to the finals for the first time since 2012. I mean 2010. So um it's that process that has allowed them to get to that point where they're like where you're hearing Celtics fans say we're almost there, we're almost there for, and that's what we've been saying for the last couple of years. We should be there, we should be there, we should be there. And now we're there. Now we're there. You see what's there. Ime Udoka came in and changed. He actually, to me, he actually established a culture there. That was the thing.
I
That was
have
the
a
element
question
that
for
was
you
missing.
related to that. Thank you
Okay,
for that. Because
yeah,
I was thinking of that before the show.
but that was the element that was missing to Boston during this whole time with Isaiah and Brad Stevens. Right? It was, well, I shouldn't say that because back then the culture was dog. Right? Like they were the underdogs, but they had a dog fight, like a dog mentality in them, and that's when you saw IT flying on the court. You would see Marcus Smart, Jay Crowder, Avery Bradley diving for balls, even Al Horford. Right? Like those guys had no care in the world. They were going for it, and that's why they thought they were going to get. We thought we were going to get Kevin Durant. We thought we were going to get Kevin Durant that season, right? That's the reason why. So, yeah, Ime brought that culture, that winning culture there. So now it feels like the days of old,
Yep.
where this is what's expected, right? Championships are expected here, in this time, in this during this time of Udoka,
This era.
right?
Yep.
That this is his era, this is his time. So I think he's going to I think he's going to achieve what he's come to do.
Hey, I love the way you said all of the same things, and you set the floor beautifully as a fan to say the exact same thing that I said, which is y'all got the same finals appearances as my team does in the last how many years, and my team is a lottery team. So please, I appreciate the love. There's been a lot of good runs. There's been a lot of good seasons. But I
There
agree.
has.
There's
There has.
no doubt to the fact that this team is on the bottom of their uphill trajectory. Like
Oh,
I
for
think this
sure. This
team
is the
is going to be
beginning.
even better. Exactly.
This is the beginning. Yeah.
So not trying to discount the future hopes of the Celtics, but just pump the brakes a little bit, bro. But
No,
anyway,
no.
the point
All gas.
all gas. So I really appreciate that. The point that I was trying to make by saying all of that was this team is not the veteran team. This team is not the team that's been at this stage before of this
Mhm,
matchup. And
mhm,
now I'm someone, we've seen this in other series,
mhm.
that tends to lean with who I feel like has the best player on their team. And I still believe in this series, now call me crazy, at this stage of his career, I would say that is Jason Tatum in the regular season. Now, in the playoffs, I'm leaning Steph Curry entirely. And I
Okay.
hope you can
Okay.
understand that.
Okay.
I hope you can
I'm
understand
not
that.
mad at that. I'm not mad at that.
I would say, and hey, I can't wait to do our rankings because not a lot of people agree with me on this. I think there's if you have Jason Tatum out of your top four, you just don't watch. Like you just don't watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And hey, I'll get a lot of hate on that shit, but I
Yeah.
don't care. And I'll say it again when we do that show. But the reason why I said that is I really feel like this team is great. This Celtics team is going to be great for many years to come. There's not a lot of pieces that are stragglers that are, oh shit, we got to resign this guy. We got to resign this guy. Like you guys can patch together this team and keep it relatively consistent for at least 4 years. So
Minimum.
exactly at minimum. So I'm excited for the future of this team. I think the upper bound limit of this team is championship this season. Don't get me wrong. I'm
Mhm,
not saying that's out of the cards. I'm not saying it's impossible. I just feel like what you're up against experience wise
mhm.
and what you're up against in the context of the moment.
Mhm.
Um, it makes me want to lean towards the Warriors. And
Not
matchup
mad at that.
wise,
Not
and
mad at that.
matchup wise, it doesn't make sense because I already laid out how I think these matchups are going to play out.
Yeah.
But I expect a certain level of greatness from multiple players on both teams, but I
Yeah.
think especially from Steph and from Wiggins in this series. I think people sleep on how good Wiggins has gotten in general. That's not just the
Yeah.
defensive side of the ball either. That's offense
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. No,
Um,
he's a dog. I think getting to Golden State was the best thing that could have happened for him because of the fact that I know the expectation that he had when he was in Minnesota, but he had to get out of there, right?
yep.
Like it's apparent that whatever the culture is in Minnesota is not conducive to like the upper echelon type of players. And that was the expectation for Wiggins coming in, right?
Number one. Oh,
So
Maple Jordan. I'll never forget.
imagine if he had gone to Golden State, if he had gotten drafted by Golden State. Because I think like that's one of the things that I think people keep forgetting. Like when you're this type of player, the type of culture that you're established into, that says a lot for you, at least in that moment on that team.
Historically great player. I would say top five, no fucking question. LeBron James. Ask him about
Oh yeah, yeah. I was
his
about to say,
fucking
where are we
coming
going
up in
with
the league.
this? I think you better say Wiggins was top. I
No, no,
was
no,
what
hell no.
the
Sorry.
whoa.
I meant he was in that same scenario.
Yeah,
This is a
yeah,
transcended
yeah,
player
yeah.
that in their first year they expected to be a transcended player, and they showed out to do that. Wiggins didn't necessarily,
Mhm,
but LeBron did, and because
mhm.
of the scenario he was in, he had to get the fuck out of Dodge before he could
Yeah.
win a title.
Do you see that
So,
same thing happening to Zion?
oh, that's a good question. I would say the Pelicans as an organization, and this may sound like a shock to people, but I think they are more equipped than even Minnesota is.
I
And
I I do too. I
dude,
do too.
I
Yeah.
just got to say, shout out to Alvin Gentry. This man does not get the respect he deserves. I don't
Yeah.
even know if he's the coach there anymore. I don't think he is. But he was the coach there for a
No,
very long
Willie
time.
Green.
Yeah, it's
Now.
Willie Green.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why I'm bringing him up is because there's been a culture in that locker room that existed before Willie Green got there. And don't get me wrong, things needed to be changed, etc. I'm sure Alvin Gentry, he deserves a job. I don't think he has one at the moment. But the reason why I brought him up is because culture-wise, that team is ahead of what Minnesota's doing. Don't get me wrong, Minnesota did a great job this year. I'm looking forward to more things from them too. But what you said, as far as organizationally setting yourself up to do these things, I think David Griffin, as an addition to that organization, isn't going to be a bad thing either. I think the Pelicans have more going for them than Minnesota. So I don't know about that for Zion, but I don't see the Pelicans winning the title anytime soon either.
They're not.
So
They're not. They're not.
That's
but
a tough one.
They'll be a nice story for the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. So real quick, I already alluded at mine. You already alluded at yours, but we're running out of time here. So I just want to ask you a question, and then we'll cap off with our actual finals predictions, what we think is going to happen, and then we'll just let the fun take over from there. I don't know. I'm not going to lie. I don't know how you feel about this. I might want to do some more shows like throughout as these games are unfolding, even if it's smaller shows. Like I think that'll be really cool, just to sort of keep reading the room as the series goes
we can even do IG live, bro.
Hell yeah, I love that. So my question to you is, do you feel that if Brad Stevens was still the coach of this Celtics team, that you would have the heights that you're seeing this season?
No.
Or really? And why is that? Can you explain that to the people at home?
I think you and I have talked about this before, but Ime challenged the team before he even got introduced to the public as a new head coach. He started challenging them right from the jump. And this is before the season started, because they went over they were on Team USA. He was one of the coaches on Team USA with Jason Tatum and Kevin Durant and all of them, right? And he challenged him from that point on, and has been working on them a long time. One of the biggest things is that he challenged Tatum to not, be so friendly with these against these teams. And we've seen anytime he's gone against one of his friends or whatever, he shows up, he does play, but he doesn't attack. And we've seen that ability of as soon as the game starts playing, he's been in attack mode from before they sing the national anthem. He's ready to go, and I have not seen that from him prior to that, right? And that's because Brad Stevens was not challenging. Brad would take the blame for everything, which respect for that, but you have to call these guys out, whether it's in the public or not. You have to call these guys out and challenge them to be better and do better. And I think Ime does a great job of allowing them to enjoy the success, but also say, hey, push that aside.
Hey, bro, this is a perfect example. And I think this is key. And I just want to cut you off real quick, and please continue.
Yeah.
When I'm in kickboxing, the main coach of the thing comes up to me all the time, and you know what he tells me? Hey, you're great job. I like the way you're throwing that combination. And then he goes to the person next to me that is throwing that same fucking combination better than I am, and they're like, you're doing this wrong. You're doing this wrong. That's because they're better than me. That's because they need that more than I do. Right now, I need some encouragement because I'm struggling. And I agree with the point you made. I think having someone to hold you accountable in that way, when that level of greatness is expected of you, can only propel you forward. But continue.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the best way to put it. I mean, we've seen him do that with the entire team, but look at who you're seeing having career years. It's Tatum, it's Williams. If I'm not mistaken, I think Brown is as well, and Smart. But guess what? Guess who else is? Horford, right? So you're talking about your starting five. Your starting five having career years and career moments just with him being there. And that's establishing a culture. I don't know how else to put that, but to be completely honest, and people might say what you want to say. If you disagree, I don't really care. I do believe that what Ime is doing in Boston we're going to look back on it in about 10, 15 years from now, and we're going to say that this is the second coming of Greg Popovich in terms of being able to establish that culture and coach it, right? And challenge these players. He's from that pop tree, right? So I don't want to say that he is going to be the next pop, but I think you're going to see the same type of success. That's how I'm going to put that.
I just want to say I hate that you said it because like you're the biased guy. Like I was gonna say it. Like you stole my thunder. You
My
took it
bad, brother.
away from me. And I don't mind. I don't mind. Hey, I love it. I love your passion and I love that you're able to see through the shit because a lot of people will
Yeah,
say, oh,
yeah,
that's just him being a mark. I
nah,
agree with that entirely.
yeah,
And I'm someone that saw the slump, that saw
yeah,
through all that. I'm like, I don't know about these Celtics.
yeah.
And y'all proved me wrong. And listen, everyone is going to get caught up in the moment at some point,
Oh,
either
for
side
sure,
of the scale.
for sure.
I don't think our reaction to the heights of this team is us being stuck in the moment. I think it's very clear
Mhm.
that you guys are very young.
Yeah,
So that's my thoughts on this. That's why I think the Warriors are going to win this series because I think they have the experience, the championship experience, and they have some young guys that can propel them in moments that they need.
mhm,
Um, but it's going to be a dogfight, and most importantly, it's really they need to figure something out for that front court of how they're going to keep those guys out of the paint, not only on offense but on defense too.
mhm.
So they got problems. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah.
think this is going 7 games. I think we're going to have another 7 game series. Um, but I'm picking Celtics in 7. I mean, I'm picking Warriors in 7. I'm sorry. Sorry, I had to do. And I
It's
swear
all
it's not
good.
for parody. I'm not doing
Nah,
it
it's all good.
just to
I
be different than you.
I
No,
get it. I
it's
get
just
it.
how I feel because
Yeah.
of where this Boston team is today. Now, if we're blindly saying 2 years from now these teams are in the finals again, I'm 100% picking the Celtics, because the fact that y'all are having this moment period is huge for the organization. I say this as a Thunder fan who we never saw those heights again.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
please, uh, make these words come true, Celtics. That's all I got to say. But I'm going with the Warriors in this series.
And the reason why you're going with the Warriors in terms of the experience and all that stuff, I'm actually picking the Celtics for similar reason. Um, they've gone through the fire for the last 4 or 5 years, right? This core has, and I'll be completely honest. If Al Horford had not come back to Boston, I don't think they're in this position. So you're talking about the veteran leadership in Golden State. Much respect go to that whole organization. I have nothing but respect for them. I think that veteran leadership that you're talking about with Golden State, I think they have that in Boston with Al Horford. Horford does something that I don't think people really pick up on in the during the game. Okay, which is big as to why when he's not at least on that sideline, I'm nervous. He settles guys down, and you'll see him go and like pull Jalen to the side and talk to him, especially when they're like on the road. He'll talk to him and
Grant too. Great. Grant.
Grant, Jason. He'll take these guys to the side, like whether it's during a free throw, whether it's during a timeout, whenever there's free time, he will actually like I've seen after we've scored the basket and there's been called a timeout, he will actually go and hug Jalen, right, and calm him down. And I think it's having that calming effect in big moments is highly overlooked, but it's highly necessary. And I think we're going to see a lot of that in this series, where you're going to look and you see how big of an impact that Al Horford is going to have, whether that's in scoring, whether that's in defense, assists, or just talking to them. I think he has that big of a presence on this team where it doesn't matter where you're playing. It doesn't matter what stage, doesn't matter like wherever you are. If you've got him on your team, you have confidence in what you can do, and you will settle down and boom. Almost like how Phil Jackson, you remember how they were talking about how he was like, having to meditate and be like, in this
Mm-hmm.
Zen like mode,
Yep.
then attack. That's exactly what I see with Al Horford. And I think people are going to get mad at me for comparing him to Phil Jackson. Guess what? I don't care. Um, I think that's that level of calm that he brings to the team to where it's like, okay, now you're seeing guys settle down and not do too much, right? So because of that, and because of where I see how the advantages with this team on both sides of the ball, I'm picking Boston. I'm going to say Celtics and I'm going to say Celtics in 7. I think it could be done in 6, but I'm going to say 7 just on the safe side. I think this is going to be a very long series, but I think this is going to be a bloodbath. I think this is going to be a war. I'm
And
prepared
I'm
for
excited
war.
for it. I'm excited for
I'm
it.
prepared for war, bro.
I'm excited for it, dude. I can't remember being this pumped, honestly.
I
Like I
know,
really
I
can't.
know. This is gonna be a great
It's
matchup.
big.
Yeah,
And honestly, I hate that I have to cut it short. Like I feel like
yeah,
we could
yeah,
have went
yeah.
another hour on
We
this, so
could
I'm
have,
really
we
sorry
could have.
about that.
It's all good, bro.
But we will get more time to nerd out about this series for
Most
sure. I just
definitely.
got to say the fact that you leaned on the fact that we're gonna win this series because we get some hugs out here in Boston is beautiful. I just got to say that that's an
Love
underrated.
wins. Love
Yes,
wins,
it
bro.
always prevails. And the fact that there's no Bam, the fact that there's no Giannis that he
Oh
has
my
to guard on the
god.
other end, this man's gonna eat. Like, let's get that shit clear right now. I'm expecting at least two 30-point games out of Al Horford this season. I
You're
mean,
going
this series. So
you're going to get a big game from Horford. I think we're going to see a big game from Horford, and we're going to see a big game from Clay.
yes, sir. I can't wait to see it, dude.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see it.
Yes,
But
sir.
you can find my stuff at Negron MMA on Twitter, as well as Chris Negron _. I can't believe that you guys already have me past the 315 mark. Like, I feel
Let's
like I just
go.
hit 300 the other day. You guys are fucking awesome, and I'm humbled all the time. So I really appreciate it. I got a really awesome shows coming up with my guy Dale LePan from Punchless MMA. We're going to be doing an MMA archive proper, as well
Nice.
as the sort of preview and look back show. So got a lot of nice stuff coming for you guys, as well as just the regular show getting back on goddamn board, baby. Because
Yes, sir.
don't get me wrong, I love doing these preview shows, and I think I'm gonna keep doing them, especially for the big ones. But the grind does not make me as happy as those old school MMA archive propers. So
Yeah.
really excited to cover UFC 14. That's coming up soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Make sure you follow the brand on all social media platforms. That's OTS Media Co. and OTS Media on YouTube specifically.
Yes,
We gotta mix it up a little. So
yes,
sometimes
sir.
people try to take the donations. We got it all figured out. So make sure that you follow us on all those platforms. Make sure you get yourself some champ #1 boxers. And Derrick, tell them where they can find you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. At Derrick _OTS is DERRICK, black way to spell it. But just like Chris alluded to, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell on YouTube. If you're watching this, you're already there, halfway there, so go ahead and do it. And please, also go get some champ wear. Champ #1 boxers. We are being sponsored by them, so shout out to champ #1 boxers. Get something for the champ in your life. You can support them and us by going to the link in our bio. Champ #1 boxers. Go on any social media platforms. You can go right there. Support 2 Black-owned businesses at one time with one purchase. So we thank you guys for watching and or listening. We will catch you guys probably in a couple more days. We'll probably do another episode, or we'll probably do something next week. So either way, we'll catch you guys then. Thank you guys for watching and or listening. Catch y'all later.
Give somebody a hug, God damn it.
Get a hug, yeah. Show some love.